Happy New Year, everyone. I, I'm Dr. George Brooks with Next Horizon here in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's our prayer that everyone has an amazing 2021 and that you all stay well in this pandemic year. It's not easy, but there's a good light at the end of the tunnel, and I pray it's not a freight train. So let's keep going. So I'm going to get to talk about today something I talked about last year this time, almost exactly a year ago. New Year's resolution, and it actually worked out fairly well. So I thought I would try to tell you about it again. Now, again, I'm with the Aquaponic Victory Garden. That's the idea that I've been working with. Now I'm going to introduce a new concept to you that I call New Victory Farming. Now, again, New Year's resolutions. What am I going to do this year? Last year, I did a big research project. And my New Year's resolution today is to bring this new idea forward. Now, the value of a technology lies not in its bells and whistles, but in the great questions it can answer, great problems it can solve. I've always looked at aquaponics in this manner. It doesn't matter that it has a bell siphon or a deep water culture grow bed. It's what can you do with this to do something good for people, good to help people. So, of course, this presentation is going to be the tip of an iceberg, because we could talk for hours about what I'm going to tell you today. Hopefully, I'll get through it in 20 minutes. We'll find out. Now, again, new victory farming, because I like the ideas of the victory gardens. This idea grew out of the victory gardens, but I wanted to do more, and this is what I'm calling it. Everything has to have a name. Now, I live in the city of Phoenix, and a few years ago, 2014, I was given the pleasure of being one of the writers of the new Phoenix General Plan for 2015 through 2025. Every city in Arizona has to have a general plan, has to have a business plan. This document lays out everything that we want the city to see the city accomplish over the next 10 years. And within that general plan, we put in a food plan. Its goal was is to promote the growth of healthy, affordable, secure, and sustainable food systems that make healthy food available to all City of Phoenix residents. It seems pretty predictive of the pandemic, because that's the problem that we're having. And Phoenix started this program back in 2015. The idea was to increase the number of residents with a quarter-mile farmers markets, gardens, urban agriculture, make sure that everyone is within a quarter-mile of a grocery store. It's a good idea. It's actually working quite well, because the city has now written action food plans for 2 parts of town to how to put all of this into action. And the cool thing about it is that aquaponics is part of it. I think Phoenix is the first city to actually officially put aquaponics as a recommended method of food production into its city of Phoenix and into its city food action plans. Now, I'm going to give you a link to all this stuff down below the video, and so you'll be able to read it. It's quite good reading. Now, one reason we did this is that we're full of food deserts. And I have been looking at, since we began this process, how do we really get aquaponics to fit into this properly so that it does the maximum amount of good? And of course, now that we have the pandemic and the hunger crisis is growing, and because of it, it's even more important that we succeed in this task. Now, here is how I'm looking at this. The first thing is, my first goal was to make aquaponics less expensive and less complex, because too many people were looking at it as an expensive toy. And to me, it has so much promise. I wouldn't want to see it relegated to that status. So since 2014, we've demonstrated how we can take a off-the-shelf splash pool like this one right here, turning it into a deep water culture grow bed. And the goal was, and last year we got 290 pounds out of it. I just didn't get that off the screen by accident. Okay, we'll come back to that in a minute. But turn it into a deep water culture grow bed that could grow a whole lot of food in a small amount of area. Again, we got 290 pounds off of this year, though we've gotten nearly 400 pounds in the past. This year we had some weather problems, a week of 118-degree temperatures, and then weeks after that at 115, whatever else. And so it was really bad, lost a lot of production. But nevertheless, the second thing, okay, we have demonstrated nearly 290 this year. We're going to say 271 because that was the 200 days before the heat wave hit. The next thing is, can we make it highly productive? Now, lots of posts are talking about victory gardens. Now, victory gardens, on average, was a very successful program, very successful. And the name itself, now in World War I, they were called war gardens. In World War II, they were called victory gardens. But thanks to the work of George Washington Carver and his writings, he was very influential in agriculture, genius. And the idea, however, is that the average family in victory gardens grew 800 pounds of product. Not bad when you have thousands of square feet to do it. Now, I couldn't find a picture of 800 pounds of vegetables, so I got an 800-pound cow. So that just gives you a visual reference of what 800 pounds looks like. And in urban areas like Phoenix, Arizona, we only have in our backyards, because our backyards are postage stamps compared to the thousands of square feet they had back during World War II, we got 20 by 20. That's what you see here, just about 400 square feet. So plop that cow right down here in the middle of this 400 square feet, and you know the challenge that we are facing to get that amount of production out of a modern backyard. And again, this is just a picture of what one of our modern backyards looks like. This is a particularly small one. Mine's a little bit bigger, but still on average, that 400 square feet is somewhat available. And the answer is yes. It came out last year that we had gotten that 271 pounds, and those particular aquaponic units could be modularized and would fit into that 400 square foot space 3.7 times. Now, of course, you're not going to have a 0.7 part of an aquaponic system, but just bear with me with these statistics. That means if you added it all up and put the aquaponic unit, multiply inside of that space using 108 square feet as part of the surface area for that system, and this the ground space, the footprint, it came out to about 1,000 pounds of food. So yes, we can do this in an urban backyard. And this is all in this particular video, and I will link this video to you below so that you can listen to it. Done back on December 4th, and I think you might enjoy it. All the details are in there. But the next thing is, can it be cost effective? As I look at it, what I really wanted to do was could I grow all of the annual fruits and vegetables and fish that a family of two needs for less than buying it from the grocery store? Now, could I do that in an urban backyard, assisted or promoted or supported by aquaponics? And that is my goal for this year, to see, can we do this? And here's how I'm going to go after it. Now, at the end of that video that I showed you just a moment ago, you can look at and ask, what business model would make it all economically viable? And here we go. New Victory Farming is a simple plan where, supported by aquaponics, people can grow most of their annual fruit, vegetables, and fish needs in their backyards for less than it would cost to go buy the same products at the grocery store. That's a pretty high goal to reach, but I have some faith that we can actually get there. And again, this goes back to the work of George Washington Carver, a man who inspired me tremendously with the things that he did with the victory, why people took his victory writing and inspired them to change the name into Victory Gardens. Now, he didn't do that himself, but people who read what he did were inspired by what he did. And he's also the father of sustainable farming. And also by this guy, Ron Finley, when he said that growing your own food is like printing your own money. I'm going to link his excellent TED Talk below in the more information section as well. And so the idea here is to grow enough of the kind of vegetables you would normally eat to replace the same products that are not accessible or difficult to access from to purchase because of war, a price, a pandemic, scarcity, whatever. It makes one more self-sufficient and also saves you some money. So how are we going to do this? First of all, there's a guaranteed market. One thing about I've noticed over time is that when people talk about growing real measurable amounts of food, the question always comes up, what's your market? And so you got to go to the CSA, or you got to go to the farmers market. And many people want to grow, but in fact, I'm not particularly hot and going to sit out there in the farmers market myself. So is there another way to do this where one does not have to go through those issues to get started and to somehow earn money? So, but I'm going to eat this food anyway. The amount of food is what a man and woman, family of two, normally eat. So I'm going to eat this food anyway. So I might as well sell it to myself instead of going and trying to sell it to the public. We are a guaranteed market. Next thing is I added it all up, and the amount of fish that the amount of fish, vegetables, and fruit that a American family of two needs over a year is 923 pounds. This came from that they recommend that we eat between 400 and 700 grams of fruits and vegetables daily, or 800 to 1,400 grams for a family of two. That adds up, at 800 grams to 643 pounds, or at the 1,400 grams, to 1,125 grams. And so that's splitting the difference, that comes to 884 pounds of food. Oh, by the way, so the World War II metric of 800 pounds was by serendipity or calculation. It was not that far off. Now, Americans eat about 16 pounds of fish per capita. So therefore, a family of two eats 32 pounds. So 884, excuse me, all right, 884 pounds of fruit and 39 pounds of fish. No, excuse me, not 39, 38 pounds of fish. I made a slight typo there. That comes out to, I'm guessing now, 932 pounds of food necessary to meet that need of all the fish and all the vegetables and all the fruit that I would need and that my wife would need, a family of two, for 1 year. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to take two of the kiddie pools. Now, we produced this year 290 pounds. They really underperformed because of the heat wave. I've done 400 pounds before, but I'm going to use the 290 pounds of food we got this year. So take two of the kiddie pools. That comes out to 580 pounds. And we're going to try to get a little diversity. We're going to set them up so that we can grow 4 different kinds of products, maybe 5. Okay, we're going to try to grow blue catfish because we can get a hold of them. We're going to try to grow channel catfish because, like the blues, they are available. But they're different fish. They're closely related. They can even hybridize, but they might grow differently in aquaponics. We want to find which one might work better, the channels or the blues, or maybe a hybrid of the two, which are also available. And maybe there's a taste difference that we don't know about. We'll find out. Okay, then of course we want to grow the tilapia. Now this picture is of a blue tilapia, and we have now tilapia. So most of the fish out here couldn't tell the difference in nature. So most of the fish out here are hybrids of blues and Nile, blue Nile hybrids. There's no such thing as a blue Nile species. No, they're the blue tilapia, Oreochromis aureus, and the Nile tilapia, Oreochromis niloticus, and they hybridize to create a blue Nile hybrid fish. But they both look very similar. They got the small heads and the blue color. Mostly is the very distinct stripes on the tail of the Nile, or the very indistinct stripes on the tail, as you see here, the blue. And then this is a male blue, so you get the red coloring in there as well. But there's another tilapia that is available in California because they don't allow blue Nile hybrids, and that is the Mozambique. And Oreochromis mozambicus, and they're often hybridized with the wami, the Oreochromis eurolepis hornorum. And I did my master's on these things, so I know them well. But there's a difference. Okay, now these fish have a big head and comparably small bodies, but they taste better. They're like salmon. People don't know this because all the tilapia that we get in the store are all genetically mixed up. Just like a coho salmon tastes differently from an Atlantic salmon. A blue tilapia tastes different from a Mozambique. There's a flesh difference. There's a texture difference. There's a taste difference. And I really prefer the taste of the Mozambiques and the Mozambique hybrid. But they got a smaller body and a bigger head, and so there's less meat, and so that's why people don't really like to grow them. They're also not cold tolerant at all, and so that kind of pushes them off the world market. But if you can grow them, they give you a really great tasting fillet. The next fish, but then there are these. The giant freshwater prawn macrobrachium. I'll link to you below some work that I've done with these recently here in Arizona that shows some great promise. And maybe one day we might be able to add these to the pantheon of different products we can grow in aquaponics, particularly since they do get as big as you see in that picture. And when they do, they can sell those tails as a replacement for lobster tails because they taste like lobsters. I can go to my store right now down the street from my home, and they have these on the shelf coming out of Indonesia, which is one of the native areas where they come from, for $19 a pound, tails. That's enough to make me want to go back to my dissertation research, fill in the blanks that I didn't figure out, and figure out how to grow these to this size. Normally you see them to the size you see on the right, but that puts them in competition with regular shrimp, and you just can't get the kind of money you want. But these big ones, you surely can. The next thing we're going to do is that we're going to move beyond the aquaponics. I've always thought that we would have to integrate aquaponics with something else so that we can maximize the use of the water, use of the waste products, use of the fish poop, and get the maximum amount of food out of any one area. And we're going to use fruit salad trees. Now, fruit salad trees are trees that bear several related fruits. They combine fruit trees that are created by grafting fruits excuse me, within the same family. Each tree limb is grafted with its own fruit. A significant advantage of a fruit salad tree is its convenience. So this means that you can have a fruit salad tree made from grafting different kinds of citrus, such as grapefruit and oranges and limes and lemons, because they're all within that citrus realm, and they can be grafted onto one tree, tangelos, etc. But for a stone fruit, you could have one that has peaches and pears, apricots and plums and nectarines. And so that allows a family to have a wide variety of different kinds of fruits. And plus, these trees produce well, and they just kind of drop food on you. And so most thing you got to do is keep the food alive, keep the tree alive and well fertilized and watered and happy. So I'm going to give the fruit salad trees 150 pounds, even though they say they'll do 300. I'm going to say 150, and two of them, that's 300 pounds total. So when you add all of this together, 180 pounds in the aquaponics and 300 pounds from the trees, it comes up to 880 pounds of food coming out of your backyard. That's not quite that 900 number, but it's pretty doggone close. So I'm going to see, can I do it? But now we have my economic goals. And that is the production cost needs to be less than the cost of buying it at the grocery store for this whole thing to work. It's great to have the healthy food, but if you really want to make an incentive where more people use this, you've got to make it economically viable. And so right now, the average prices for everything, I went to my local store and just kind of took a price reading on everything that I normally eat, and the fish and the prawns and everything else, and some being cheaper, some being more, but it all came out to be about $1.50 a pound right now. So my goal is to be able to grow these for $1 a pound using, I believe you call it an economy of scope model, where everything is averaged across the aquaponics system. You don't put fish separately from the cantaloupes. You get the general cost of growing everything, and then the amount of food you produce, and you do a big average, and that will give you your dollar a pound. So if I was to go, as an example, go and buy 800 pounds in the grocery store at $1.50 a pound, it would cost me $1,200. Now I'm going to do this. If I want to eat vegetables and eat to the recommended amounts of vegetables, fruit, I need my 900 pounds, so I'm going to buy the 800 pounds, and it's going to cost me $1,200. I would much rather, however, to have that same amount of product cost me $800. That's a $400 saving. Now, to a lot of people, $400 doesn't sound very much, but when we're talking about recessions and other such things, $400 can be very useful to a family. For example, here in Phoenix, the average power bill is about $150. So that's almost 2.5 months of free power. Or one can do all kinds of things with an extra bit of money going into one's account. And the last thing here is this, not a question of if it will work. I've been growing hundreds of pounds of food in my aquaponics now for years. And we have grapefruit trees and orange trees, and they just drop food on it. The question is, can we do this in a manner where it works well, so that we can reach those goals that I gave you just a moment ago? And then there's lots of other things you have to do in order to make it work right, because if you're growing food, it's seasonal out here. We don't have a big greenhouse. It's all outside. So it's seasonal. And so how do you preserve the food? There's a great video that my wife did that I will link below, about how she is expert at canning and preserving foods in downstairs in our basement. So what kind of training will we need? What kind of training in canning and trees growth, whatever will we need, and how much of it, so other people can take advantage of this methodology as we get it refined, because we'll know how to train them. So that is it for this presentation. I want to thank you very much. If you got any questions, please in the comment section ask. And of course, we encourage you to go and subscribe, and then ring that notification bell so you can know whenever a new video was posted. So that's it. Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you soon.